But I think one of the differences is that Hitler had principles. I mean, they're nasty principles, but he had principles. I don't think Trump has much in the line of principles.
Do you think America will lean towards this kind of information suppression, this increased propagandization? Or do you think there will be pushback in ways that are effective? Or do you think there are ways that we could push back and be effective? Or is it kind of powerless based on the power dynamics of who controls everything?
Well, that's a fairly complicated set of questions.
Sorry, I know.
Yeah, no, so I'll see what I can tease out of there and feel free to follow up. The problem is that people like to know how things are. Whether it's true or not, they like to be sure. And increasingly, the media, particularly internet sources, like to push us in the direction of being sure, confident. And we like that. So we're being pushed in a direction that we like to go. Now, how far that can go, I mean, I don't see a stopping point yet. I mean, I think Trump's pressure and the general pressure is going to push us more and more in that direction. Now, what we can do is what I said earlier. First of all, pay attention to good sources, pay attention to looking at the other side. And one of the worst things we can do is shut up. In other words, we're all very careful, not all, but most of us are pretty careful about what we say. If we meet someone new, what do? Well, we ask a few innocuous questions, and we're kind of like a turtle. We stick our head out a little ways and see what happens. And if it looks dangerous, we pull the head back in. Okay. Well, I think that a little bit of courage can be a useful thing. I mean, who do we admire in countries like Germany, East Germany, Russia, and so forth? We admire the people who had the integrity to maintain their point of view against the flow. Now, of course, that's dangerous. Some of them were jailed, some of them were shot. But if enough people are clear in their opposition, this has an effect. I mean, people have this notion that somehow Hitler could do whatever he wanted. Germans just kind of slavishly followed him. And that is not the case. Hitler was looking very eagerly to see what the Germans wanted, and he was trying to quite often be in front of them, being pushed from behind, rather than automatically trying to get people to change their mind. I mean, for instance, if you look at religion, the Nazis ultimately wanted to displace the Christian churches because it was an alternative, to central authority, that of Hitler. But he knew that if he tried to stomp out the churches directly, and they tried to do some things like that early on, lots of people would resist. And so they were cautious. They were building the 1,000-year Reich. It wasn't going to happen tomorrow. It might take generations. Well, if you look at the U.S. too, I mean, roughly half the population voted for Trump. Now, some of them were passionate Trump supporters, and, Trump could, as he famously said, shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and it wouldn't bother them. Others looked at the situation and said, gee, Kamala Harris, I don't like her very much. Trump's awful, but he's not as awful. So, you've got certainly less than half the population that are passionate, dedicated Trump fans.
Yeah.
Now, you may not note that sometimes from the current media. I guess what I'm saying is that one of the requirements of stopping something like that is simply for lots of people to continue to have courage and to reinforce each other. If you think you're the only one who has a position, you're going to be that turtle. You're going to be very cautious. If you're confident you have a lot of support, you're going to be a bit braver. So I think that, and Trump, by the way, is also sensitive to public opinion. In many ways, what he's doing, he'll change his position readily. He was used to, if I remember correctly, he used to be kind of pro-abortion, but he decided that his followers were against it, so now he's against it. He was very proud of Operation Warp Speed, the development of the COVID vaccine. Well, but then his followers turned out to be against it. So Trump is very good. I mean, my own take is Trump is often compared to Hitler, and I think his methods are often Hitlerian. But I think one of the differences is that Hitler had principles. I mean, they're nasty principles, but he had principles. I don't think Trump has much in the line of principles. I think he's out for number one, Donald Trump, and he will do what it takes. Okay. Well, for example, a recent case was put all these tariffs on China for these small packages. Well, guess what? Suddenly, even a lot of his followers got distressed. And so those were rolled back, at least for a while. Anyway, the point is that if enough people consistently maintain opposition, it'll be a whole lot harder. Not impossible, but it'll be harder.